This conference will now be recorded.
Statement of bills, authorizing the special event permit and resolution establishing fees for advanced
No questions?
Number 5 on this evening's agenda, we have requests for comment from the public. We're actually going to have 2 opportunities for public to speak this evening. One is just this general request for comment from the public, and then in item 6, we'll have a public hearing as well regarding the budget. Any comments for the public are welcome now. Just remember, you'll start with your name and address and have 3 minutes. There being none. Okay. Move on to item number 6, conduct a public hearing on the proposed 2026 city budget and consider certifying the 2026 budget and directing its submission to Wyndham County for the first 2025. I'll hear a motion please to open public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
There's a motion from Councilman Shriver, a second from Councilman Adcox. Will the clerk please call roll?
Mullen. Yes. Everhart.
Yes.
Malat.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Adcox.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, public hearing's open. If we have anyone here this evening that would like to share comments regarding the 2026 city budget, now would be the time. Same, you start with your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes. Your motion please to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
We have a motion from Councilman Shriver, a second from Adcox. Will the clerk call roll?
Mullen.
Yes.
Everhart.
Yes.
Malat.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Adcox. Vote passes 5-0.
We do. Yep, Mayor, thank you. First order of business is a governing body certification vote, so the mayor's included. My commentary, just opening remarks here, is that I wasn't told I was wrong at this point, and it's been pretty consistent that we were focusing on, as a group, tax burden relief, and certainly that has citizen benefit, including the citizens that live here in this room as well, right? And are up there making those decisions. Expenditure controls, since mid-2023, that has been absolute priority of my management, as well as guidance from the council. I think we partnered pretty well, and that is part of our focus strategies of our management team for governing body and organizational benefit. I think we, during this presentation on the budget, we talked about efficiencies, and there's certainly always more to come. And then as part of the 2026 budget, which is really no different than in the past, we did focus on compensation. I think those are 3 key points: is tax burden relief, expenditure controls, we have a number of them in place, a number of efficiencies, and focus on compensation. And essentially, the governing body has the ultimate responsibility of determining the boundaries by policy of our budget. That's your prime responsibility. And you tell us what those boundaries are, and you do it every year. This is no different than that. So my message to the group is we are taking this head on and without sacrifice to service, and that we're going to be as responsive and with a focus on our expenditure controls, and that we support the tax burden relief because our citizens deserve that. And you did see some of the material that was researched in the metro area, which indicated us to the right hand of that bar chart, which that was about the cost of living assessment in the metro area. And Wyandotte County consistently was in that upper threshold, unfortunately. That does include Edwardsville. Some of it per capita, we reigned, and in a sense, we were pretty high. So I think what we've been doing, I want to demonstrate that to you just as FYI. I don't mean to belabor this, but I think it's important that you look at this graph and what we've done the last 9 years. So it wasn't one day we decided, hey, we're gonna just slash. We've been responsible in tax burden relief forever and a day, it seems like. And I thought that would be a good graph. Now you will see this in another document for citizen benefit in our kind of our public relations communications of our budget and brief document that we've done the last few years. Summates what we did with this budget and what we've been doing tax burden relief wise, and that's where our budget focuses on personnel, capital improvements, those. But as you can see, the average increase was about 3% per year, and then overall in that time frame, about 23.4%. So we've done our duty. We've really done it. This next one, I tried to put it in a readable format as much as possible. But what you're seeing is that blue line is that decrease in your mill, in our mill, and the ad valorem tax related to the mill. That's about valuation, right? It's not the city doing something. This is what the county tells us things are worth, okay? It's property specifically. You can kind of see that we went from 447 to that 36,292 this year over that 9-year period. And you can see that that's a 72% increase in the revenue related to ad valorem tax with a 23% drop in the mill. So if there's ever a complaint about the value of the assessment on your property, to include commercial property, they would have the same argument, is that it's been pretty hefty over the years. And so we're doing our due diligence on this side as well as what you're doing up there. And certainly I think there's a lot of community support for doing what we're doing. So our job in the next stage here is to talk about how we are working within those boundaries, expense control, within the tax burden relief policy that you passed, and we'll go from there. But if there's any questions on this, I could have gone into more depth, but somewhat the assessment. But this does kind of correlate with what the auditor revealed, what our financial advisor revealed. This is a pretty consistent pattern countywide. And I want everybody to keep in mind, the city in the blue line has done their part. So when you see your tax bill and you say the taxes went up, that must be the city, it's rarely the city. The city has rarely done this over the years, right? And now again, our kind of PR battle with our own citizens is saying, oh, by the way, what did the county just do? It didn't stay revenue neutral while we're doing it. And so PR-wise, this is the information we can put out, but the argument will still be there. No matter how much of that we try to reinforce in the community, you're going to get that pushback that we haven't done enough. This is what we can do, and you've done a good job. So it's our job to manage this, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Gerber.
Let me get yours up. Hold on.
Everybody, good evening. I just have a couple of slides as well. Get those pulled up. First slide really is just a reminder about revenue neutral. And I think it's important to focus on the second bullet. We've talked about this a number of times, but I know there's still confusion statewide in our community. But the revenue neutral rate is the tax rate in mills that would generate the same property tax revenue in dollars as levied in the community. That doesn't mean the revenue overall is neutral. This means the revenue from property taxes and like here that goes back to our in our. Just a reminder, 25 valuation across Edwardsville was 113 million. 26, the estimated preliminary valuation is 124 million, almost 125 million, which means that 1 mil is worth 124,000, rounding out 900, about a 10% increase. The FY25 final mill levy was 40.057. The revenue neutral rate as determined by Wyandotte County for FY26, let's say 26, so that's a mistake on my part, is 36.292. So that's a change of 3.765. I put this on here just because we focus on the general fund, so I just wanted to just have a little demonstration of revenues versus expenditures in the general fund since 2020, sort of taking a 5-year look. We've seen this before, but I thought it was kind of important to go through again tonight and just sort of demonstrate, as the city manager did, that we have been cutting the mills. Our expenses are consistent with what we're doing this year, and our revenues are also consistent with what we're doing over the last 5 years. So it's been relatively consistent. There's a few spikes, I would say. For example, if you look from 24 to 25, there's a more significant spike, but that is largely due to us anticipating the half-cent sales tax coming into the general fund, the expenditure, and on the revenue side. So that bumped that by 450,000 on both sides of that equation. So that's really where that spike comes from. Okay, so for the FY26 budget information, the across, excuse me, across all funds are 14.5 million. For FY25, the expenditures across all funds were 4 million. So there's very little change across all funds from 25 to 26. The general fund property tax revenue, and that is taking the mills, the value of a mill times the number of mills, gives us 3.2 million in the general fund and 1.3 million in the debt fund. The debt fund has stayed consistent at that 10.448 number for a significant period. That hasn't changed. And as we've discussed, we don't want to change that because of our upcoming potential debt issues.
Sorry.
The overall revenue in the general fund increased about $460,000 or 5.3%. That is primarily driven by estimates in sales tax, franchise fees, and ambulance fees. Those are all expected to rise from 25 to 26. If, again, we're predicting a year into the future, so right now we're predicting what we're going to look like at the end of 26, right? So it's a bit of a guess, but it's also an educated guess, as I've said many times. The way sales tax is trending, it looks like it's going to continue to grow. With what Chief Witherman and his department have done with ambulance fees, those have continued to grow, and our collections have gotten better, as well as franchise fees and other fees. So that's those are the primary drivers of that 460,000. The overall general fund expenditures increased by $637,000 or 7.5%. And that's largely has to do with personnel adjustments. As I noted in the background memo, we've plugged in a 5% compensation number. However, that turns out being spread out. However, the governing body determines what the compensation plan is going to look like moving forward. There's that number to work with. Additionally, I think it's important to point out that we did add library staff for a quarter of a year. That was $37,000. Fully funding the court staff, so 2 people in the court. So in 2025, we had 1.5 in the court now budgeted. So for 2026, we'll have 2 full-time employees budgeted there. That's what we have in the court. As we talked about related related to the salary study. There's some outliers. That is those folks who are below what they recommend the minimum to be. And the number that they gave us for that is $60,000 to raise those folks from below the minimum. And then we've also increased funding for park seasonals. As we get more programs and as those things are developing down in the park, we added some funding for park seasonals. There are some other increases across the general fund budget. For example, technology fees are going up with some of the new pilot tech things we're implementing on the administrative side. Those fees are increasing, although they will make us more efficient, so it's a good trade-off. Professional services continue to rise with the amount of projects that we have across the city. Engineering fees continue to rise. And then just commodities, fuel is not getting cheaper. General day-to-day operating expenses aren't cheaper. And so, but again, the primary driver of the general fund increase is personnel. And just that last bullet as a reminder that when you change a payroll number, it changes a number of other. So that's a high-level overview of what we've been talking about for the last couple of months. And with that, we'll certainly stand for questions.
Doug, the revenue neutral rate basically going down to the 36.292 Millville slash, how much? That was around 350,000.
So the difference, if we would have kept the mill levy from 2025 at 40 mills, and a mill is now worth $11,000 more, that would have generated $350,000 in additional revenue across the general. Yes.
Moss, how do you generate revenue?
Milan, can you? Thank you.
How do you generate revenue if you're flashing? I don't know, I gotta have budget 101 on this because revenue neutral has always been pretty confusing. We keep slashing this middle, I mean, example that we flashed how much, in the last 10 years. I mean.
So before revenue neutral, you had
I'm trying to get to the heart of what your question is. But I will just, again, go back to the definition of what revenue neutral is. And that is we're generating exactly the same amount of revenue in 2026. If this budget's adopted, we would generate exactly the same amount of revenue in 26 that we do in 25 from property tax.
So it's not a slashing anything, it's the same amount of revenue as here.
If there had been, again, if the mill had stayed the same and the mill is now worth more, then you generate more. And our calculation was that would have been about 350,000 additional revenue, new revenue.
that X graph was what shows what's going on.
Something that you have to look at and understand what you're really looking at.
Did we get interfered with here?
Yeah, sorry. I'm having some volume issues, so you should be good.
I'm sorry, I'm having.
Is this outside the master form?
Yes.
They want to go back to the.
To your thing.
Graph, yeah.
Okay.
So in all basic form, we accomplished everything. We can pay for the fire, the police, public works, parks, admin, and give pay raises. And we did it with the same money. Yeah, the money are projected beyond the ad valorem taxes, which is revenue only, the revenue neutral rate only impacts the first one, ad valorem tax. We're talking about sales tax and some of these other revenue drivers that then solidify this budget. It's a balanced budget. We're gonna spend this much and we're gonna generate this much revenue. And hopefully there's a little less expenditures or about the same and we're gonna get more revenue. Because that's our goal, right? So that we come out ahead in a fund balance as we have it, right? Moving from 15 to nearly 20% now, hopefully to that 30% that we proposed a couple of years ago. So that's our real goal, is get that 30%, then we're really healthy. This does all of that. To include, yeah, we didn't generate 350,000 extra dollars, but we have a budget that's balanced and we can afford it, right? So I think that's the real key here is, and we accomplished the priority 8-9 years in a row now, is tax burden relief. So I think that's what's important. This just shows you the county does the valuations. It's not us. The city does not do that, right? And what we're in control of is the blue line. And we have been out front and controlling that since 2017 at least. I didn't go back farther, but I'm sure we did something back then. And of course, you know, as your house, your property increases, they say, well, it's worth this much in the market, and you know that's why they go around, knock on your door when you sell a house and that sort of thing. You buy a new one, they say, you know, how much and that sort of thing, verify the information, and they do this, you know, this valuation. And that's where you get this chart is, yeah, I mean, that's big, 72% since 2017. That's a lot of money on your house. That's good if you're selling, right? You're moving out and going to the Bahamas or something. But as a taxpayer, that can be pretty rough. So, but we're not at 47, you know, tax burden on our folks. That's a real heavy burden in my opinion. So what this graph just demonstrates to you is that about in that 20 and a half right there, we kind of all saw that after COVID. You know, so many people staying home, remodeling their houses, thinking about I could own the house next door instead, you know, these kinds of things. And that's what happened. There's where your bubble starts. And you can kind of see it was a trajectory upward anyway. That's what this demonstrates is that's a lot of tax revenue being generated based on valuation, ad valorem tax. And we controlled that particular number. We didn't overinflate any other revenues. These are very historic numbers. They track well. And remember, we did add a sales tax piece that generates about $450,000 in the revenue, but we have a place to spend that, right? But it has to be tracked in both places. So you see some of those drivers.
So we're not losing any new sales tax.
We're not losing it. No. We're gaining. We should
Well,
be gaining.
Okay, we're gaining because of this, but if we add cash registers,
You add.
it's a gain. We're not gonna sacrifice that.
That's right.
That's the part that I'm not understanding is, you know, is how it's just, it evens out and, you know, it's starting to get a lot more clear to me. I see it ought to be after 5 years.
And these are good questions. In the sense there are revenue drivers in addition to our ad valorem tax, right? And they can be bigger numbers, quite frankly, or even, you know, they can be, right, we're talking about sales tax, fines and fees, if you really think about it. You have court, you have the gaming revenue, franchise fees, those are big drivers, ambulance fees, these kinds of things that drive some of our additional revenue. So when we do have increases in those, and that's when you can see that, yes, you're collecting your ad valorem tax, but you could gain in the revenue because it's not ad valorem related. Does that make sense? So if we have a sales tax increase, you add a grocery store or something that suddenly is doing a lot of business, and therefore you're shoring up the health of your revenue from a different stream.
And then that's something that you're for is getting that other revenue streams and sales tax in, it doesn't prevent. That's something our city really is looking forward to, is getting that cash registers and other businesses in the community to offset the increased property tax. And I think excited to be able to go revenue neutral. I know every city can't do that every year. But I think we've done a really good job. By that, you guys have done a really good job in getting the budget turned back to where it's even a possibility. That's not always the situation. I think one bit of confusion might come because a lot of this like before, this evening on, or before Friday, I guess, on what would be proposed for the, more of the budget expenditures that are being, recommended. I know we have to set the mills tonight, so what I would like to consider, to make sure we do our diligence for the requirement.
To the
is,
main one.
Taking care of the budget piece and the mill setting piece, and then maybe we could be working on those
To-
additional,
Doug's. To Doug's.
positions or adjustments and things like that moving forward, when we have time to get some more information and dig into those pieces, so fix up the budget piece tonight and then dig in. Kind of what I was thinking, to give us time to work toward those, to work toward the salary adjustment, expansion or full-time employee, additions, working on those in the next couple of months, but then going in ahead and getting the budget certified this evening by considering motion, certifying 2026 annual budget, setting the revenue neutral mill levy of 36.292 mils, with 10.448 mils going to debt service. The budget would include at least the 3% cost of living increase, earmarking earned interest income for governing body allocation, but then just having the other 2026 budgetary decisions, including salary adjustments or expansion of full-time employees, to be addressed by the governing body during these future meetings, or we can have some work sessions to get into those details between now and the end of the year.
For a motion, I was like, what kind of sacrifices are we making to our employees in the city? Resources for the city, capital improvements, equipment, fuel, maintenance, all that. Are we making some sacrifices where it's gonna be difficult to maintain the level that we need to maintain for our citizens? As far as public work, safety, everything. Are we still gonna really be able to handle that? Continually to lower the mill?
That's a loaded question.
That's why it's hard to sit up here
Yeah.
and make these decisions.
We're presenting you with a budget that we believe is workable across the organization. I'll answer it that way. A couple things. It's a balanced budget, which is important. I've been harping on that since I got here. I know the city manager even before that. So we're not deficit spending. I think that's really crucial. Because we are deficit spending our way into being broke, right? So that's super important. Our revenues are growing modestly, and so that is supporting some modest expenditure growth. In this proposed budget, we are taking care of employees. We have 5% plugged in for compensation. That's appropriate. I would say that I think we are pretty light in the general fund in terms of projects and, new operational expenses. Those are coming from other places, from other funds.
Like an example of that would be what?
Like an example of that would be, we're relying on special sales tax for a lot of things, special sales tax fund. And that's okay, that's what it's there for, right? But it's also appropriate, I think, for that to be supported generally across the city, and that's what the general fund is for. But we are still going to be able to turn the lights on, we're still going to be able to work on streets, we're still going to be able to have police cars that run and fire engines that go put out fires. It's just, like last year, it's a modest budget.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the mayor's commentary was about she would entertain a motion to certify the 2026 budget, and she mentioned the numbers for the general,
Yeah, 36.292 total, with 10.448 going to debt. And then I thought it would be fair to at least make sure we're including at least that 3% COLA, and then, the governing body had wanted to set aside or earmark earned interest But then aside from that, we get into any other full-time employee additions or salary adjustments over the next couple of months, and just work with staff toward finding those, details. So we don't need to really approve all of those this evening. We have a motion.
All right,
I don't-
what's the
yeah.
motion?
If you're making a motion, the mayor can't make the motion, so you're gonna have to make the motion.
Put it here. Let's go second.
Hold on. Just hand her the motion.
I wrote it down because I knew what my thoughts were this evening. Can I just send it to her? Or do you want me to say it? Yeah, trying.
He
I don't
suggested,
see, I don't
yeah,
see
he
an
don't see the
issue
problem.
with, you know,
Yes, sir.
He doesn't see the problem with it. I don't think I see the problem. I just want to make sure we were all on the same
Okay.
page.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to have to repeat any
I
of
wasn't
this.
making a motion, I was suggesting, and if she
Yeah.
can't say so moved, then I'll just, if
Yeah,
you
she
can
should read it.
change
You should read it
anything
into
you
her.
want to. Okay. So I make a motion to, certify the 2026 annual budget, setting a revenue neutral mill levy of 36.292 mils with 10.448 mils going to debt service. The debt will include a 3% cost of living, earned making, earned interest income for a governing body allocation, all other 2026 budgetary decisions, any salary adjustments, and expansion of FTEs will be addressed by the governing body during future meetings and work sessions between now and the end of the year. We have a motion from Councilman Adcox, a second from Councilman Mullen. What would you
hang on
say?
just a second. So the motion, just to clarify, the debt on the 3%.
I do.
So 3% COLA is what you were talking about.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Was it no less than?
Possibly.
No less than.
I mean,
Well, he asked if it was no less than 3%.
well, no less than. Better, I mean, 3%.
I think.
Whatever. I would be comfortable with 3%.
I'm good with that motion.
Yeah. Yeah, 5 program. Yep.
Okay. Good. So we have a motion and a second to clarify that gives us room to make adjustments over the next few months. Is that good? Is that fine? I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to go back and do this.
Yeah, the only thing I heard, and you're looking at the paper, is I heard 3% for something about the debt.
No, the budget will include a 3% cost of living increase.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And the mill rate for debt service as well.
Revenue neutral mill levy of 36.292 mils with 10.448 mils going to debt.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
that's the motion.
And I second it.
Okay. Are we good? I'm gonna make sure we're like, are we good? Because I don't want to have to do this again.
Can I have that
You-
paper?
You read it from the, so we've introduced that as a record. She can have that.
Okay.
That'll be very helpful.
That's totally.
Everybody understand not to take over here, but everybody understand what the motion is?
And that way we don't hurt on those details as we move forward. I think to have the ability to ask more questions. more information. Okay, so we have a motion from Councilman Adcox, a second from Councilman Mullen. Will the clerk please call roll?
Mullen,
Yes.
Everhart,
Yes.
Malat,
Regretfully, no.
Shriver,
Yes.
Adcox,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-1.
Item number 8, consider sanitary sewer connection agreement between the city of Edwardsville and Track East Kansas City LLC.
Mayor, I'm sorry, number 7.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry. I just wrote on the wrong thing on my page.
No worries.
Sorry, we will do that in a minute. Item 7, consider an approval of an interlocal agreement between the city and unified government for the purpose of allowing Edwardsville residents to access specific news services and events offered by the unified government television division and authorizing the city manager to the agreement.
Mayor, thank you, Mayor Council. You've been apprised, maybe since the last year, we received some letter from the unified government. They had done an assessment of their trash service for Kansas City, Kansas. And what they found was countywide, they were supplying without any reimbursement for those outside of Kansas City, Kansas, the hazardous household waste, the yard waste, recycling, and dumpster days. So for example, you wanted to take your tree limbs down to the yard waste, you signed in and you said, I'm from Edwardsville, you showed your ID, and you got to dump it at no cost. However, the people paying for that particular service, according to their survey, their assessment, was the people of Kansas City, Kansas. So they didn't think that was fair. In their letter, hey, we're going to discontinue the service for you. They didn't really propose, hey, could we have some agreement? I said, we don't want this stuff on the side of the road and you know, and that sort of thing. We want you to be able to throw it away. And we only have our dumpster days and so much cleanup opportunities for ourselves. So eventually we met with the city administrator and those folks in charge of this particular division in the UG and proposed an interlocal agreement. I said, that's the best way to take care of it. You can set the fee, whatever that might be. Particularly, let's make it a fee related to what KCK residents will pay, right, their portion of that. And so in a sense, the number of users that they documented is about 102 for all of those at about that $396 range. It was under $400 on average. And according to them, they didn't really give me all the data, but 100 to 115 have been on average. And it picks up, just so it picks up when we do our own cleanup days, because we send a lot of people to recycling and the hazardous waste and that sort of thing. So what this does is they will do a count, they will send us a bill, and it's probably worth every bit of investment of $400 a year-ish for us to be in part of this interlocal agreement. So I think it's a good agreement, and it will take, it'll keep that service that we're already all used to. Now, you might be wondering, well, why did it used to be a countywide perceived service? And I think that's just the blend of their government, UG, and nobody really paid that much attention to it. And so this is, the end result is they did the assessment. It probably no different than we would do when we found out, somebody's using our service for free. And so after that assessment, they said, hey, you should pay. And this is the end result. And this applies to Barnes Spring.
Seems fair.
Seems fair.
It's another city's thing for it. I would love for them to do the inverse and ensure that we're not paying for services that we're not getting. Would be wonderful. Second step to this.
Yeah.
But it does.
I just wanted to clarify something. I think, we were talking with their legal counsel towards the end of the week, Friday afternoon,
Yes.
we were still
Fred.
discussing it.
You push that door there.
Still discussing it. On the summary sheet, it says the agreement establishes an annual rate adjustment. Fee set at $3 for subject to future adjustments not exceeding 5% annually. We actually changed that. In paragraph 6, they didn't agree to cap their rate, which is fine, but we did add in paragraph 7 that even though it can automatically, it does automatically renew at the same rate each year, and that we need to give them notice of termination or non-renewal of 90 days written notice, so October. We don't want to continue to participate, but if they do increase the rate, then we can terminate the agreement.
Is it still in the updated agreement the same rate at which Kansas City, Kansas is being charged?
Well, I've noticed that, maybe I just missed it earlier, because I think the discussion in the email had to do with, this is just going to be the same rate as KCK. But it says it shall not be less than the rate charged to Kansas City, Kansas residents. You see a problem with them making a
I
motion
don't.
that said that shall be the same?
We could amend that. We could amend that with that motion.
I don't think they
That they would balk at it and go. What's happened is last minute they said, okay, we've been waiting for their answer somewhat on this, and that's why the agenda memo didn't get updated. But absolutely, I think the whole intent here, what we originally proposed is we would be charged the rate of a Kansas City, Kansas resident, the same rate. So I see that too, that's a slight different verbiage.
So the recommended motion would be to approve the interlocal agreement
Yes.
as presented with the 6, that the language be changed to, but shall be the same rate charged to Kansas City.
Yeah, 6.
The last clause there, comma, shall be the same rate charged to Kansas City.
So, as presented with the amendment in paragraph 6, but shall be the same rate charged to KCP residents.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between the city and the unified government for the purpose of the, of following Edwardsville residents to access specific waste services and events offered by the unified government solid waste division, and authorize the city manager to execute their agreement as present with the amendment of paragraph 6, but shall be the same rate charged to Kansas residents. We have a motion from Councilman Adcox, a second from Councilman Mullen. Will the clerk please call roll?
Mullen,
Yes.
Everhart,
Yes.
Malat,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Adcox.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Now,
Now.
item 8. Consider a sanitary sewer connection between the city of Edwardsville and Becky's Kansas City LLC.
Mayor, thank you. Both city attorney and I have worked on this. We did hear from a resident public presentation last time and gave us some good insight. Did receive a communique from that same person praising the effort on this. So good job, Josh and I. And I tried my best to block out the changes here and try to follow this thing. There's been a lot of moving parts. Just remember, they haven't approved it on their side. So this is, what we're saying is this is our absolute kind of, one of our best offers. There may be some provisions we may have to bring back and that sort of thing, but we will try to negotiate this as presented as much as possible. I don't know if you want me to go through all of those particular items of change, but we certainly made the corrections that the council identified and that was presented by a concern by some citizens as well. I can stand for questions, and Josh is here as well to answer any.
We not wait until they approve it?
What we're doing here is essentially go forward and present, and that then they could counter, and that even if we had a final somewhat agreement before signing, someone could come back and say, hey, we thought about this more, change it up. So we're kind of, we're going at it two different ways here in the sense of how we want to approach it. But this will at least give us pretty hard foundation from which we can operate a little closer to the desires of the council, if that makes sense.
It's a will serve letter. The developers will need to know that they can operate. So this is the first step for them. The permitting process in their jurisdiction. We have required Becky shall submit a detailed civil and utility engineering plans for review and approval by the city of Edwardsville. Final permitting and utility service review by the city's public works and engineering staff, so that's on our side. All application materials must receive approval from UG, including permission to connect and charging system. So we're just saying this is what we will agree to.
I think that a lot of the concerns were addressed that we brought, and I feel like it's moved in a more positive direction for Edwardsville. The only thing I was going to ask about was possibility of adding, is an exhibit D, section H, and just adding, ongoing maintenance and repairs to that Exhibit B, section H. So that's talking about the maintenance of the connection. I was just wondering if we could include not just the installation, like construction, but ongoing maintenance and repairs, including the meters.
Yeah, I think that it could be more specific. So reading it, Bucky shall be solely responsible for all construction, that's the, and maintenance, we can put ongoing maintenance costs, so we can add that. And then including but not limited to required lift stations, meter, Mark, we expect them to pay for.
Yeah, all that's on their side.
So I can add meter.
On those, we can force them, if you're thinking on our side, that would be our responsibility. Because other people flow into it. Anything on their side, they're responsible. Does that make sense?
Well, do we meter for that connection?
Right, yeah, it's on,
So that'll just be one. At that.
yeah,
Okay.
So we wouldn't have to install the meter if they weren't plugging in, correct?
they have to install it.
They're installing it. So I'm just saying, like, if it needs replaced, like ongoing, that would be included.
So add ongoing and then add meter to non-exclusive.
As far as I understood, they're responsible for everything on their side, as we are for ours. So if they're putting the meter down, I think they would be responsible for if anything happens.
If their connection goes bad at our connection, for example, they're responsible for that, and then anything towards their store. That's kind of how I thought the language was there.
I just wanted to make sure, because when I read it, it seemed like it was pertaining more to construction and maintenance of the construction instead of ongoing maintenance. That was all. I just kind of
It doesn't hurt
covered
that.
that
Ongoing.
thing.
and meter.
Ongoing and meter.
So the recommended motion to approve the will serve letter with proposed agreement and exhibits with the amendment to the paragraph H. Ongoing to ongoing maintenance.
Somebody so moved that or not?
Mother's side.
Okay.
I think so. Budget is a little bit more tricky.
As stated and amended, correct?
Yeah, stated and amended.
Seconds that, please.
Second.
Who would be
We've
picking?
got Everhart this time.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman Shriver for the motion and Councilman Everhart for the second.
Mullen,
Yes.
Everhart,
Yes.
Malat,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Adcox.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
City manager.
On, in that particular note, we'll keep you updated as soon as we get some dialogue. Wooded Road, we received some formal complaints on that in addition to my own complaints and staff complaints. You've been up and down Wooded Road in recent weeks, sand is just all. And it's been that way before. We do have an agreement, standing agreement that they have a routine of cleanup and that sort of thing. The mechanisms and the machinery and the manner in which they go about it has raised the shoulder through the sand. So it was level and it drained off, but now it's built up and it's become a trough, if you will. So that sand can't wash off there. And essentially, it went through our colleague, Mr. Chuck Stites, and said, what can you do to facilitate this? I'm putting code enforcement again on this, as well as the police and Public Works Department, because our road is, you think of sandpaper, this is sandpaper on top of our road. It's really doing some damage. And so they got out there today, and I think they spent 9 hours on working it over. What's happened is it wet, dry, and it got smushed in. It was just kind of like concrete, if you will, almost. And so they struggled with that. And what they're gonna do, if they didn't get that done today, what they'll do is on the ditches, they're actually gonna grade it back, get that sand off of there, so that whatever material's on top of there should be from the ground of the road rolling down that into that ditch. And so we're gonna keep an eye on that. We still are going to make sure that they receive some formal notice from the city. Appreciate your effort, but we have to keep this going because it's reoccurring and that's a very expensive road. And so we just want to keep that on their radar. But appreciate Mr. Stites advocating for the city and getting the crew out there to get that tightened up. So if you did receive copies of the complaint I got, one of them specifically, we appreciate their effort. The person and their neighbors were concerned, they voted in the complaint on it. So several people are concerned about that road. I get it, it was tough road and that sort of thing, we need to keep it up. 104th Street sidewalk, we've done the walkthrough, we have the plans. The last piece of that whole thing is the manual for bidding, and that is 99% done. We're in the 390,000 plus. That's the extension from Metropolitan, will be on the west side, all the way to Edge Hill Road. We have a little bit of terrain problems there, so some, walls, some railing, but the property acquisition, we need little to none. We just need construction easements. On the other side, we'll be in people's front yards. It just really wasn't, and then you have to cross the road and some other things. So we'll extend off the west, so we're not gonna be on the side of the cemetery, as I presented before. It'll be the west side. There's some ditching and, some utilities couple in there in the way. But we think we can have this done, unless there's reservations now. This has been green lighted. We're on the target of the budget we presented. So we're very, very close in the final package that if it goes out to bid, we expect with contingency that we may or may not spend up to that 394, 96, somewhere in there. We do have that in the budget. Those funds come from a couple of sources, mainly leftover CARES, if there are city ARPA, county ARPA, and a little bit from county ARPA. And we will get a reimbursement for construction after it's finalized from the cost share program in KDOT that the governor was here to award. Okay, and so they've agreed to this phase 2, if you will, to reimburse us that particular money. So we'll have some offset funds, which I think is good. We have the funding for it. It's budgeted. We're ready to go. And so unless there's reservations, we are going to go out for bid very soon. And I think it's a good project. Extends that pedestrian mobility priority that we have and ties that right in and just keeps going up north. And at some point, if you recall, there'll be sidewalk tie-in at some point. Richland will have it first, but now what we're looking at is you keep going north, and then you'll be able to come down 106 to Richland. Richland will take you all the way over to Kansas, the sidewalk there. Existing sidewalk structure going north and south on 98th Street. So it really ties it all. I think we should proceed. It's within the expected projected budget. And if you have any reservations, let me know. This is the time. I'm about to sign off on it. Any concerns, questions?
I think we were excited to see it before, only got some very positive feedback from them, on just the walkability to school for kids.
See it every morning.
A lot of families really appreciate not walking.
Yes. And we are taking very little property. It's construction easements and the road. If you go by them, you'll see some of those ditches are pretty hard to maintain. This will improve. As soon as we let this, we'll be going into acquisition and construction. So not taking any right away. Primarily, most of it's in that, but the grading is what needs it. Thought that was possible. That's all I have.
Councilman Moore?
Just positive feedback from the citizens, thanking both the council and staff for working hard on that budget. It's still revenue neutral. Wyandotte County is not easy to live in, and taxes and all. You guys did a great job. So thank you. Good job.
No comment.
My no vote on revenue neutral is, it's a hard vote to make. We've been slashing our revenue for a long, long time, and I think it's eventually gonna catch up with us. I blame it on unified government. I blame every bit of it on unified government. I just wanna make sure that we're not gonna be losing out to protect our citizens while we're bailing out UG. It's been that way ever since UG came into existence 20 years ago. That's my explanation on the no vote. I don't want to see our city suffer for what the mismanagement on the county side of it. That's where I come from. I probably won't be running again in 2028, so I can say what I read. Anyway, did we ever get you never did send us the PASER reports, like the diagram of the streets that were in need of repair and all of that. I think that I had asked for that. I drive the streets
I'm not trying to be
practically every
argumentative,
day.
but I know that.
I'd like to see a copy of that. And I had been talking about Wood End Road, as you know, for probably a year and a half. If they went down there and cleaned it, is that their trade-off for not going to court or getting a code violation?
No,
on dumping loads on the road?
No, the road was in poor condition. Somebody was gonna do it. Either we were gonna charge them or they were gonna take care of it because it was in terrible shape.
But it's gonna get rectified.
Yeah,
Because
they
the
need to
road
go,
is
they need to go
really
back to
bad.
their routine. They do have an agreement. There's been a routine. They have dealt with sweeping on contract. Maybe there was a little bit, they got behind on another project or something. Something happened where it got bad, but the pieces where the city has worked directly with them is on those ditches before. We've done this before, grade them down because so much sand is getting on each side. So, yeah.
So that's been a concern of mine for quite a while. Wood End Road and 98th Street, but from Wood End down to 32 Highway, it's too bad. And that's part of the revenue neutral thing, that we're gonna be losing money that we could probably put into that. Other ways of generating some funds for it. I drive Richland quite a bit. There's a lot of progress being made on Richland, on that water line and all that. I wonder if there should be a suggestion made that maybe they should have somebody with a sign, something that doesn't impede traffic when people are trying to move through. I know there's only 40, 50 people a day, but I think that there could be some confusion down there, maybe there could be an accident.
So flaggers, what you're referring to?
Something, some signs that say, we've got construction, watch for people. Rich, okay, this is kind of directed toward Margaret because she's with the Parks Department. Do you remember the name Sam Samick? Sam Samick is the one that kind of started the soccer program in Edwardsville 20 years ago or so. And there used to be actually a sign down there that said Sam Samick's Fields.
I think it was soccer back in 2004, so maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was before that.
No,
And
honestly, I
he
don't.
was really a main instigator of getting soccer in Edwardsville. I'd like to see if maybe there could be some research done on him, his family. She lives up on Shawnee Drive. It's Pam Samick. Main name was Kimber. She had been asking in the past about this, where the sign went to, and if maybe there could be a name, up there, in his honor or something. If you could do that.
Yes.
She's a lifelong resident, or Sam was a lifelong resident. I think we need to honor those people. The other thing was I had asked, and I don't know if you answered, for the benefit of the public that are here because we didn't have an executive session tonight. Glad you get to hear some of the things I say, whether it means anything or not. Did you get contact Greg Kendall and Chuck Stipe about giving short presentation on what's going on with the county on our, what would involve Edwardsville on that? Because I'm still mystified as to why we can't get development and cash registers. I'm just mystified that we're not seeing this kind of improvement.
Was, we met before you had asked the question about Greg Kendall. We had met with him and he's been out of town. So as soon as he settled back in, maybe this week, he'll be back, but he's been out of town. So we'll talk to him about a future upcoming meeting. Chuck Stites has agreed to come in October. Now the budget season is passed, and he's actually going to reach across the aisle a little bit for Tom Burrows and just give him the invitation. So he and I talked today. He just left the meeting with Tom, and he's going to reach back, talk with him to see if he still has any interest as an outgoing commissioner. So
I think it would be great if he would, because he's been a pretty good asset for the city.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
it may be a positive to maybe bring in a day or two for that, maybe just to show our opinion of what we expect.
I
Maybe.
think I see one sitting here.
Okay.
I think there's one sitting.
I think that a formal invitation may be warranted.
I think that is a must. I think we really should have that. And if that would get scheduled, maybe it would be a good thing to put it in the hot shot or figure out some kind of whoever would be here.
Yeah, that would be part of the agenda,
So
so.
we could not play to an empty house. And I think that, I'm not gonna get the date right, but there is an upcoming Meet the Candidates Forum, I think in Bonner Springs, it's put on by the chamber. I can't tell you what the date is, but I'll try and read it. October sometime. Do you know, Margaret? No, I don't know. For the UG, I think it would be a good thing for citizens to go to those forums.
I think I hear an audience member saying October 2nd. Did I
I
hear?
didn't know if it was appropriate.
Did I hear it right?
The name sound, or the date sounds right to me, but I think.
The mayor has confirmed October 2nd.
I think it would be good for our residents to get involved and, ask some questions. Find out the friction that actually comes between Bonner Springs and UG and Edwardsville and UG. I think there needs to be some hands put out to shake and figure out some of the issues. I think that's all I have, so thank you.
Good.
Councilman Shriver?
I want to say this, and I don't want to say it in a way that it makes it sound like we don't do anything up here. But we as a council kind of have the easier part of the budget. We ask you, the city staff and the department heads to work really, really hard to create a balanced budget. We get to vote on that. Like I said, I don't want to make it sound like we have the easy part, but we task you all with that every year, and everybody does a fantastic. I know it's a lot of work for all of the staff, all of the department heads, including all the activities that department heads and the staff do outside of your normal work. The Spooky Express, the festival, everybody in the city of Edwardsville participates, and thank you all for doing that. You make it a little bit easier for us. Like Mark Matthews said, a balanced budget for 2026 was created without sacrifice to service, and that was a great statement. Over the weekend, there was a reports of some loose goats.
Okay.
I don't know if the things were called animal control. Well, I mean, I had a couple of people I know that live up there. This is up behind the public works station up there, up in the neighborhood back then. And I know a couple of residents, I don't know who was called, I don't know if the ghosts were ever removed, I don't even know who they belong to.
Are
But
you asking if, about the law on abandonment?
I am, yes, I haven't got there, but
Can you cook it?
I don't know how that, I don't know, has this been resolved? I don't know who to even ask, who wants to take a stab at that?
Does the PD have any information on it?
May I ask, so,
Riley?
right, because I don't know, I had two people I know that live up there, and one resident is somebody that's got some family stuff going on, is not there right now. Can't control what's going on, doesn't know if the property is getting eaten up. So, what is the status there? Sorry, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but.
They don't seem to be local goats. I think they were dogs. Nobody's got a Facebook wagon. Caught 4 of them. They're in the Humane Society. We don't trap the rest of the fish. So, we'll work with Bonner Springs and see what
Okay.
Just go.
So,
So we knew the report, we captured some of them, and there's still some at large, is that correct?
so that's who the chain is, they call the police, who is the animal control,
Yes.
so to speak. So they were not a local owner.
Well, nobody's claimed them. They were put on Facebook Friday. Normally they would.
Shipped.
They, no, I need to call them.
Lori, what's some goats?
Okay, I just wanted an update on that, thank you so much, that was a little out of bounds for me, so. like to thank, once again, the staff. I know there's a committee involved with the potato festival coming up. And pray for good weather, but lots and lots and lots of hard work, planning that's gone on for weeks and weeks. So thank you, staff. I know it's a lot of people are gonna be involved that day and have been involved for the past several weeks. So a lot goes into that planning. Thank you all. And I will take this back to the Parks Department. We also had, a meeting with the Parks CPPS Board last week. And we did discuss, dog park, and we've got a lot of research to do. It's not as easy as it sounds, but we're gonna get some research together and maybe come to the council. Some type of, possible. Just wanted to report on that.
And we can certainly get some finance staff for you as well, put the numbers together as far as how we look at it. So if you want to do your group would like to do
I am.
the presentation,
Okay.
and then we can help out with the numbers.
Okay.
Where would you pay for it?
That's all I have.
Councilman Radcliffe? Okay. Well, to keep it in a nutshell, I think it would be really beneficial over the next few months to have, some round table discussion at the beginning of our meetings to kind of zero in on the budget, items, the more detailed items for 2026, and getting those information. So I'm looking forward to those discussions. Wanted to, again, just appreciate staff and council for a revenue neutral budget. I'm not sure if anyone else has been able to do that in the county. The county itself is not only adjusting to match the appraised value and keeping it levied, they're adding this to it. And so it's helpful for our city, for our residents to be able to offset that in any way. Multiple taxing entities are raising taxes, and so when we're able to offset that for our residents, it's very much appreciated when we can. And hopefully we'll get some more cooperation with the other entities moving down the road. One thing that I always keep in mind when we're having these budget discussions, people that come through our mobile pantry, that's something that I wanted to give a thank you for our staff, for our volunteers and community partners with mobile pantry. I get the opportunity to talk to people as they're coming through the line and hearing just about their stories. We have people that are fighting cancer. We have single moms. We have people that are losing their jobs, that are waiting for hours to get a truckload of groceries. And so those are the faces that I have in mind when we're having these budget discussions. Because even a little bit is very important to them. So I'm thankful that we're able to help out. This last Saturday, we were able to serve 313 people, 11,078 pounds of groceries. Wanted to also do a quick reminder on the Edwardsville Historical Society. They'll be meeting Wednesday morning in the building. Everyone's welcome to come to those. You don't have to necessarily be a historical buff to attend. It's been really educational in just learning the history of our community. So all are welcome there. We had a lot go on since our last meeting in our community and our nation. Remembering September 11th and the people that we lost that day, our first responders who put their lives on the line. We've had a lot of loss in our community recently, with just senseless violence targeted at our first responders, and then a leader in our country losing his life for having a difference of opinion. Sorry, I didn't mean to go too into this. Seeing people justify that because they didn't agree with him has been really discouraging. And so I just wanted to take a moment to be thankful in our community that I haven't seen. Our community, I feel like, is different, where we can have discussions, we can have disagreements, we can have a conversation, we can move on